Have you ever wondered why so many Japanese women remain slim and vibrant well into their 80s and 90s without following strict diets or intense exercise routines? It's a question that has intrigued researchers and health enthusiasts alike. What if the secret to their longevity and health isn't about counting calories or chasing the latest fitness trend, but rather lies in the humble, everyday foods they have eaten for decades? Imagine unlocking the power of traditional Japanese cuisine that supports metabolism, balances hormones, and naturally promotes healthy aging. What you're about to discover might surprise you, revealing practical habits you can easily incorporate into your own life without extremes or deprivation. In Japan, it's common to encounter elderly women who appear effortlessly slim and radiate a youthful glow despite their age. This phenomenon isn't just anecdotal. It's backed by statistics showing that Japanese women over 90 are among the slimmest elderly populations globally. Yet, many have never counted calories or undergone strict dieting regimens. Instead, their secret lies in what they eat daily, for specific traditional foods that have been staples since childhood. These aren't exotic superfoods or expensive supplements but simple, accessible ingredients that work harmoniously with the body's natural processes. Stay with me until the end of this video, because understanding these foods from a doctor's perspective will give you insight into how they support metabolism, regulate hormones, and combat the effects of aging. You'll see how these foods influence the body on a cellular level, promoting longevity and vitality without the need for radical lifestyle changes. It's not about deprivation or extremes. It's about embracing sustainable, realistic habits that nourish your body and mind. Have you ever been through phases of trying to lose weight or improve your health only to find yourself overwhelmed or discouraged by complicated diets? The approach we're exploring today offers a refreshing alternative, one rooted in tradition and science, where longevity and health are the natural outcomes of everyday choices. These foods have stood the test of time in Japanese culture, passed down through generations, quietly supporting women to live well and age gracefully. As we delve deeper, you'll learn how these 4 traditional Japanese foods interact with your metabolism and hormones, helping to maintain balance and energy as you age. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about adopting a lifestyle that feels natural and sustainable. What you're about to discover challenges common assumptions about dieting and aging, opening the door to a new perspective on health and wellness. So, why do these particular foods hold such power? What makes them different from the countless diet fads and health trends flooding the market? The answer lies in their unique nutritional profiles and the way they harmonize with the body's systems. In the next part, we'll explore each of these foods in detail, uncovering their remarkable benefits and practical ways to include them in your own daily routine. The journey to understanding this beautiful connection between tradition and health is just beginning. Stay tuned to transform your relationship with food and aging. As we continue this journey into the rich tapestry of foods that not only nourish our bodies but also honor centuries of tradition, it becomes clear that what we eat shapes much more than our physical health. It shapes our stories, our memories, and the way we experience life's later chapters. Each ingredient we explore isn't just a nutritional powerhouse. It's a living link to cultures that have thrived across generations, proving that the wisdom of the past holds incredible value for our future well-being. If this topic resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What food traditions have touched your life or family? Maybe there's a specific dish or ingredient that carries a special meaning or memory for you. Sharing these moments in the comments helps create a community where we can all learn from one another's experiences. It's in these stories that the real magic happens, reminding us that we're not alone in seeking balance and vitality as time moves forward. And if you find yourself inspired by this exploration, a simple like on the video means more than you might think. It's like a nod of encouragement that fuels the channel to keep growing and reaching others who are eager to reconnect with wholesome, meaningful food choices. Every thumbs up helps spread the message that embracing tradition doesn't mean giving up progress, it means finding harmony between the two. For those who want to journey deeper into this conversation and uncover practical ways to weave these foods into daily life, subscribing to the channel is a wonderful way to stay connected. When you subscribe, you're not just following a series of videos, you're joining a community passionate about health, culture, and the joy of mindful living. Your presence here makes it possible to continue creating content that uplifts and educates, turning knowledge into action. So, if anything we've touched on so far sparks a feeling, a memory, or even a question, don't hesitate. Drop a comment below, hit like if you're enjoying the ride, and subscribe if you want to keep learning and growing together. This is just the beginning of an exciting path, and I'm grateful to walk it with you. In examining the daily habits of Japanese women, particularly those in Okinawa, one finds a distinct approach to aging that diverges sharply from Western ideals. Rather than pursuing thinness as an ultimate goal, the focus centers on maintaining a metabolic state that supports overall balance and resilience. Observations by medical professionals reveal that many women in their 80s and 90s retain a physique that is neither overly slender nor excessively lean, but instead demonstrates an equilibrium that supports vitality. This balance is closely linked to their traditional dietary patterns, which emphasize meals designed to minimize inflammation, regulate blood sugar, and preserve muscle mass. These patterns are not the result of rigid dietary restrictions, but rather stem from a long-standing cultural relationship with food that prioritizes harmony and moderation. Meals are often composed of a variety of ingredients that work synergistically to stabilize the body's internal environment. For example, the typical Okinawan diet includes an abundance of vegetables, legumes, and seaweed, all known for their anti-inflammatory properties. Such foods contribute to reducing chronic low-grade inflammation, a key factor implicated in many age-related diseases. By keeping inflammation in check, these women experience fewer metabolic disruptions that can accelerate aging processes. Stable blood sugar levels are another cornerstone of this dietary approach. Instead of consuming foods that cause rapid spikes and crashes in glucose, the diet tends to favor complex carbohydrates and fiber-rich options that promote gradual digestion. This steadiness helps to avoid insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes and other metabolic disorders. The preference for whole grains, sweet potatoes, and legumes over refined sugars and processed foods supports this balance. In turn, this reduces the wear and tear on the body's regulatory systems, contributing to sustained energy levels and cognitive function. Muscle preservation also plays a critical role in supporting longevity and quality of life. The traditional diet includes adequate protein sources such as fish, tofu, and miso, which provide essential amino acids without excessive saturated fat. Coupled with regular physical activity that is often part of daily routines, such as gardening, walking, or traditional martial arts, this protein intake helps maintain muscle mass and strength. The preservation of muscle tissue is crucial not only for mobility but also for metabolic health, as muscles serve as key sites for glucose uptake and energy expenditure. The concept of metabolic balance extends beyond macronutrients to the timing and portion sizes of meals. Smaller, more frequent meals or a consistent approach to eating throughout the day help maintain blood sugar stability and prevent metabolic stress. This approach contrasts with the pattern of large, infrequent meals common in many Western societies, which can lead to metabolic strain and increased fat accumulation. The Japanese approach reflects a nuanced understanding of how the body processes food and the importance of maintaining steady internal conditions. It is important to note that the goal is not to achieve extreme thinness or impose strict dietary limitations, but to foster an environment within the body that supports hormonal regulation and metabolic health. This subtlety is reflected in the attitudes toward aging observed among Japanese women, who often embody a graceful acceptance of natural changes while maintaining a functional and balanced physique. The diet serves as a tool to support this state rather than a means of control or deprivation. Such an approach challenges common narratives that equate aging with inevitable decline or that frame weight loss as the primary marker of health. Instead, it highlights the importance of sustainable habits that support the body's complex systems over time. By emphasizing foods that nourish and stabilize rather than restrict, Japanese women set an example of how aging can be navigated with attention to internal balance rather than external appearance. This perspective also invites a reconsideration of how dietary choices impact hormonal health, a factor often overlooked in conventional discussions about aging. Hormones regulate many processes essential to maintaining metabolic balance, including insulin sensitivity, stress response, and reproductive function. Foods that support stable hormone levels, such as those rich in phytoestrogens, antioxidants, and essential fatty acids, are integral to the traditional Japanese diet and contribute to the observed differences in aging trajectories. Understanding these dietary patterns requires an appreciation of the broader cultural context in which they are embedded. Food is not only a source of nutrition but also a medium for social connection, ritual, and respect for natural cycles. The rituals surrounding meal preparation and consumption reinforce mindful eating practices that contribute to metabolic harmony. In this way, the diet is part of a holistic lifestyle that supports well-being at multiple levels. In considering the implications of these observations, it becomes clear that the foods chosen and the ways in which they are consumed play a crucial role in shaping the aging process. The balance achieved by Japanese women in their later decades is a testament to the power of dietary patterns that prioritize metabolic stability over fleeting goals of appearance. This approach offers valuable insights into how aging might be approached from a more integrated and sustainable perspective, one that recognizes the interplay between nutrition, metabolism, and the body's natural rhythms. As the exploration continues, the specific foods that contribute to this metabolic balance warrant closer examination. These ingredients, often overlooked outside their cultural context, hold keys to understanding how diet influences aging at a biochemical level and how they might be incorporated in other settings to support health span. Among the many dietary elements woven intricately into daily life, fermented soy products stand out for their complex biochemical profile and long-standing cultural significance in Japan. Natto and miso are not merely condiments or occasional additions. They are integral components of meals consumed with remarkable regularity. Their presence on the table is tied to centuries of tradition, but beyond heritage, these foods offer measurable benefits that extend beyond basic nutrition. Natto, a dish made by fermenting soybeans with Bacillus subtilis bacteria, is notable for its potent enzymatic activity. This fermentation process breaks down proteins and complex molecules in the soybeans, making nutrients more bioavailable than in their non-fermented counterparts. One of the critical compounds in natto is vitamin K2, a fat-soluble vitamin that plays a crucial role in calcium metabolism. Unlike the more common vitamin K1 found in leafy greens, K2 is essential for directing calcium to bones and teeth while preventing its accumulation in arteries and soft tissues. This has significant implications for maintaining bone density and reducing vascular calcification, both of which are concerns that increase with age. Miso, another fermented soy product, is produced by fermenting soybeans with a mold called Aspergillus oryzae, often combined with rice or barley. The result is a thick, savory paste used primarily in soups and sauces. Miso contains a unique array of peptides and amino acids formed during fermentation, compounds that contribute to its umami flavor and may possess antioxidant properties. Additionally, the presence of probiotics in miso supports the gut microbiome, an ecosystem increasingly recognized for its influence on systemic inflammation, immune function, and metabolic regulation. Scientific studies have linked the regular consumption of fermented soy to improved insulin sensitivity, a crucial factor in metabolic health. Insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, is often associated with increased visceral fat accumulation. Visceral fat, stored around internal organs, is metabolically active and contributes to chronic inflammation and cardiovascular risk. The probiotics and bioactive peptides found in fermented soy products help modulate inflammatory pathways and enhance the body's response to insulin, thus reducing the burden of visceral fat. The fermentation process itself is central to these effects. By partially breaking down soy proteins and carbohydrates, fermentation reduces the presence of anti-nutrients like phytates that inhibit mineral absorption. This not only enhances nutrient bioavailability but also mitigates digestive discomfort that some individuals experience with non-fermented soy. The metabolic byproducts of fermentation, including short-chain fatty acids and bioactive peptides, interact with gut receptors and immune cells, contributing to a systemic milieu less prone to inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. Integrating these foods into a typical diet does not require drastic changes. Small portions of natto, often served with rice and sometimes mustard or green onions, provide a concentrated source of beneficial compounds. Miso soup, a staple in Japanese meals, can be prepared quickly and customized with various vegetables, seaweed, and tofu, enhancing its nutritional profile. Consuming these fermented soy products several times a week has been associated with the health markers observed in the population studied, suggesting that consistency rather than quantity is key. It is worth noting that these foods possess distinctive flavors and textures, which may initially challenge those unfamiliar with them. Natto, in particular, with its sticky texture and pungent aroma, is an acquired taste. However, culinary adaptations and gradual introduction can facilitate acceptance. The cultural context in which these products are consumed also influences their integration. They are rarely eaten in isolation but as part of balanced meals that include whole grains, vegetables, and fish, creating a synergistic nutritional environment. Beyond their individual effects on bone health and metabolic regulation, fermented soy products exemplify how traditional food processing methods can enhance nutrient quality and support physiological resilience. The microbiological transformations that occur during fermentation extend the functionality of the original ingredients, transforming soybeans into multidimensional health-promoting foods. This intersection of microbiology, nutrition, and cultural practice offers valuable insights for exploring dietary strategies aimed at mitigating age-related physiological decline. The relationship between fermented soy intake and markers of healthy aging continues to emerge from ongoing research, with implications extending into the fields of gut microbiome science and metabolic disease prevention. As these connections become clearer, examining how fermentation influences the gut environment and systemic signaling pathways will deepen the understanding of why these foods perform as they do. This sets the stage for exploring other fermented foods and their unique contributions to maintaining metabolic balance and overall health. The subtle ocean breeze carried a faint briny scent as the group gathered around the small wooden table by the shore, their attention turning to the next item in their exploration of nature's intricate offerings. Sea vegetables, with their glossy textures and deep green and purplish hues, seemed almost otherworldly compared to the vibrant land plants they had previously examined. Unlike the fermented foods that had woven a complex narrative of microbial life and gut health, these ocean-grown plants introduced a different set of elements, minerals that spoke directly to the body's subtle biochemical needs. In the coolness of the early evening, the sea vegetables were presented in a simple broth, their flavors delicate yet unmistakably saline, a reminder of the vast ecosystem from which they came. Kombu, wakame, and nori, their names evoking images of Japanese shores and centuries-old culinary traditions, offered more than just taste. They provided a concentrated source of iodine, magnesium, and soluble fiber. The iodine content was particularly notable, as it played a crucial role in supporting the thyroid gland's function, a small but mighty organ responsible for regulating metabolism and energy expenditure. Unlike the sharp blood sugar spikes induced by many carbohydrate-rich foods, sea vegetables worked quietly, supporting metabolic processes without causing abrupt fluctuations. The soluble fiber they contained contributed to a feeling of satiety, effectively controlling appetite without adding unnecessary calories. This combination of nutrient density and low caloric load made these marine plants a strategic ally in maintaining balance, especially for those seeking to regulate weight or manage metabolic conditions. As the broth was savored, the conversation turned to how these vegetables could be integrated into everyday meals. The versatility of seaweed was evident, whether infused into soups, simmered in broths, or served cold as a light side dish. The methods preserved their nutritional integrity while enhancing texture and flavor. This adaptability was particularly important in culinary traditions that aimed to marry health benefits with sensory enjoyment, ensuring that the foods were not only functional but also appealing. Beyond the immediate nutritional advantages, the presence of magnesium in sea vegetables added another layer of metabolic support. Magnesium is involved in hundreds of enzymatic reactions, including those that govern energy production and nutrient metabolism. Its role in muscle function and nervous system regulation further underscored the holistic impact these plants could have when incorporated regularly into the diet. The interactions between the minerals found in sea vegetables and the body's endocrine system highlighted a sophisticated feedback loop. As iodine contributed to hormone synthesis in the thyroid, The downstream effects influenced how efficiently cells converted nutrients into usable energy. This efficiency was crucial for maintaining steady energy levels throughout the day, avoiding the peaks and troughs associated with unstable blood sugar levels. The fiber content further modulated digestion, slowing the absorption of sugars and fostering a more gradual release of energy. These biochemical dynamics were mirrored in traditional Japanese medicine, where seaweed consumption was often linked to longevity and resilience. The historical context added depth to the nutritional profile, underscoring that these foods had been valued not merely for sustenance but for their capacity to support the body's balance across multiple systems. The integration of sea vegetables into the diet thus represented a convergence of empirical knowledge and modern nutritional science. While the immediate effects were subtle, the cumulative impact of regular seaweed consumption became apparent over time. Improved thyroid function, better appetite regulation, and enhanced metabolic stability all contributed to a more harmonious internal environment. This was particularly relevant in an age where dietary excess and imbalance were common, making nutrient-dense, low-calorie options critical for maintaining health. The group's discussion naturally shifted toward practical applications: how to source quality seaweed, how to prepare it without diminishing its benefits, and how to incorporate it into diverse culinary traditions beyond its native origins. The challenges of accessibility and taste preferences were acknowledged, but so was the potential for innovation. Recipes that combined sea vegetables with familiar ingredients opened doors to new flavor profiles and nutritional combinations. In this way, the exploration of sea vegetables extended beyond their immediate nutritional content, touching on cultural, biochemical, and culinary dimensions. The conversation hinted at the broader implications of such foods, especially in relation to other natural products that influence metabolism and health through complex, interconnected pathways. From the ocean's depths to the dinner table, these plants embodied a unique intersection of environment, biology, and human ingenuity. As the last spoonfuls of broth were enjoyed and the sun dipped lower, the scene was set for the next phase of inquiry, one that would delve deeper into how other natural compounds, particularly those with bioactive properties, contributed to the intricate regulation of metabolic function and systemic balance. The journey through the landscape of functional foods was far from over, and the layers of discovery continued to unfold. The gentle sizzle of fish hitting the grill filled the air as the next chapter of dietary patterns began to take shape. Unlike the heavier presence of red meat, which often brings with it concerns about saturated fats and overconsumption, fish offered a different profile: lean, rich in essential nutrients, and imbued with a subtle complexity that spoke to centuries of tradition. In many coastal regions, especially within Japan, fish has long been the primary source of protein, a choice rooted not only in availability but in an unspoken understanding of its benefits. This preference wasn't incidental. It was a deliberate, habitual embrace of a food that carried with it compounds vital to maintaining health beyond mere sustenance. Among these compounds, omega-3 fatty acids stand out prominently. These polyunsaturated fats, particularly eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, are known to influence inflammation at the molecular level. Chronic inflammation, often invisible but persistent, underpins many age-related health issues. By mitigating these inflammatory pathways, omega-3s help preserve the integrity of muscle tissue, an aspect critical for maintaining a lean and functional body composition, especially as the years advance past the half-century mark. The preservation of muscle mass is more than aesthetic. It directly affects metabolic rate, insulin sensitivity, and overall mobility. The interaction between omega-3 fatty acids and insulin response is particularly noteworthy. When the body efficiently regulates insulin, it prevents the common cascade of events leading to fat storage and metabolic dysfunction. Fish, rich in these fatty acids, supports this delicate balance, contributing to a more stable glucose metabolism. This stabilization is frequently observed in populations with diets centered around seafood, where incidences of metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes tend to be lower. The nutritional profile of fish complements the body's needs for lean protein without imposing the oxidative stress that sometimes accompanies heavier meats. In practical terms, Incorporating fish into daily meals does not necessitate drastic culinary shifts. Replacing portions of red meat with grilled or steamed fish can introduce these benefits without disrupting familiar eating patterns. The method of preparation plays a significant role. Grilling or steaming preserves the delicate fatty acids and avoids the introduction of excess oils or fats that frying might entail. Varieties such as salmon, mackerel, sardines, and even white fish like cod provide a spectrum of flavors and textures that can be adapted to a wide range of dishes, from simple salads to more elaborate entrees. This shift in protein choice also aligns with broader trends in dietary research, which increasingly emphasize the importance of food quality over quantity. While caloric intake remains a factor in weight management, the source of those calories profoundly affects how the body processes energy and maintains homeostasis. Fish, with its nutrient-dense profile, represents an efficient vehicle for delivering high-quality protein alongside essential fatty acids, vitamins D and B12, and minerals such as iodine and selenium. These nutrients collectively support not only metabolic function but also cognitive health, immune resilience, and hormonal balance. The cultural context adds another layer of understanding. In Japan, where fish consumption is deeply embedded in the culinary fabric, meals often revolve around fresh, seasonal catches prepared simply yet thoughtfully. This approach minimizes the loss of nutrients and maximizes the bioavailability of beneficial compounds. The habitual nature of fish consumption creates a consistent supply of these nutrients, allowing their effects to accumulate over time rather than relying on sporadic intake. It is this steady rhythm, rather than episodic indulgence, that contributes to the observed health outcomes. Moreover, the environmental factors shaping these dietary habits cannot be overlooked. Proximity to the sea and the preservation of fishing traditions have ensured that fish remains accessible and central to the diet. The integration of fish with other components such as seaweed, rice, and fermented vegetables creates a holistic nutritional matrix, where each element complements the others. This synergy enhances digestion, nutrient absorption, and metabolic regulation, illustrating how food patterns are more than the sum of their parts. As the conversation about protein sources evolved, it became clear that the choice between red meat and fish was not simply a matter of preference but a strategic decision with physiological implications. The body's response to these proteins, influenced by their respective nutrient compositions, shaped metabolic pathways in distinct ways. Fish, with its anti-inflammatory properties and support for lean mass retention, emerged as a formidable ally in the quest for metabolic stability. This insight framed the next steps in exploring how traditional diets harnessed natural foods to optimize health, setting the stage for further investigation into the delicate interplay between nutrition and physiology. Following the inclusion of fish as a key component in the dietary approach, the scene shifted toward beverages, often overlooked but pivotal in shaping metabolic outcomes. Among these, green tea surfaced as a subtle yet potent element, embraced not merely as an occasional supplement but as a daily fixture woven seamlessly into routines. Its significance extended beyond hydration, rooted in its unique biochemical profile. The polyphenol present in green tea, especially catechins, had drawn considerable attention from medical researchers due to their capacity to facilitate fat oxidation. Unlike stimulants that exert a harsh jolt on the nervous system, green tea's effects appeared measured and consistent, fostering metabolic activity without triggering undue stress responses. This nuanced support to metabolism aligned with the broader goal of sustaining energy balance and mitigating oxidative damage, factors intimately linked to aging and chronic disease progression. The habitual consumption of green tea, particularly as a replacement for sugary drinks, introduced a practical adjustment with tangible implications. Sweetened beverages, laden with refined sugars, contributed disproportionately to caloric intake while offering minimal nutritional benefit. Their frequent consumption was associated with insulin spikes and subsequent metabolic disturbances. Substituting one such drink per day with unsweetened green tea was a manageable modification that circumvented these pitfalls. This swap did not demand drastic lifestyle upheavals but rather a small, consistent choice that accumulated into meaningful change over time. The absence of added sugars in green tea meant reduced glycemic load, lessening the burden on pancreatic function and promoting steadier blood glucose levels. Moreover, The antioxidant properties of green tea countered the oxidative stress induced by both aging and dietary excess. In practical terms, integrating green tea required minimal adjustment. It was versatile, suitable for consumption at various times throughout the day, morning, afternoon, or even as a subtle accompaniment to meals. Its natural bitterness, often a barrier to initial acceptance, could be tempered without resorting to sweeteners, preserving its healthful profile. The ritual of preparing and sipping green tea also provided a moment of pause within the day's rhythm, a subtle recalibration away from the busyness that often dictated dietary choices. This aspect, while less quantifiable, contributed to adherence. As the beverage became more than a mere liquid, it evolved into a habitual companion. The physiological mechanisms underlying green tea's benefits extended to mitochondrial function, where the polyphenol appeared to enhance efficiency in energy production. This effect was particularly relevant in the context of aging tissues, where mitochondrial decline contributed to diminished metabolic rate and increased vulnerability to degenerative conditions. By supporting these cellular powerhouses, green tea indirectly influenced systemic health, reinforcing the interconnectedness of diet and biological function. Furthermore, its mild diuretic properties aided in maintaining fluid balance, complementing its metabolic actions without imposing strain. While the popular narrative around green tea often emphasized weight loss, the scientific perspective underscored a broader spectrum of influence. The focus shifted from rapid, transient effects to sustained metabolic harmony, achieved through gentle modulation rather than aggressive intervention. This approach resonated with the ongoing theme of balance, in dietary composition, in physiological responses, and in the orchestration of lifestyle factors. Recognizing the cumulative impact of small, consistent choices became a thread woven through this exploration of nutrition. As the investigation into traditional dietary elements progressed, the interplay between such components revealed layers of complexity. The substitution of green tea for sugary drinks was one instance where cultural habits intersected with biochemical efficacy, generating a practical strategy grounded in both tradition and science. This convergence underscored the value of examining time-honored practices through a contemporary lens, revealing insights that transcended simple nutritional facts. From this vantage point, the narrative naturally extended toward other dietary shifts that complemented the integration of green tea and fish. The cumulative effect of these adjustments suggested a pattern, one where diverse elements collectively influenced metabolic stability and overall health. The exploration deepened, inviting consideration of how varied foods and habits interacted within the broader context of physiological regulation and lifestyle dynamics. The rhythm of meals began to change subtly, almost imperceptibly at first. Instead of the hurried bites and distracted chewing that had marked previous routines, there was a newfound awareness in the act of eating. The portions on the plate were no longer overwhelming. They were modest, balanced, and carefully chosen. This shift wasn't about restricting or obsessing over numbers, but about tuning into the body's natural signals, a practice that had long been woven into the fabric of Japanese dining customs. The idea of stopping before reaching full satiety, around 80%, emerged as a quiet guideline rather than a rigid rule. It was less about denying oneself and more about honoring the digestive system's capacity. This approach prevented the overload that often followed larger meals, where the body struggled not only to process excess calories but also to maintain stable insulin levels. The gentle pause before fullness avoided the sharp spikes and crashes that could derail metabolic balance. Meals were no longer a race to the finish line. The pace slowed, each bite savored and chewed thoroughly, allowing the senses to fully engage with the textures, flavors, and aromas. This slower eating tempo gave the brain time to register satisfaction signals, which often lag behind the initial consumption. By the time the feeling of fullness arrived, the meal had already ended, and there was no sense of deprivation or discomfort. Alongside this mindful portion control, the composition of the meal continued to play its role. Ingredients rich in fiber and natural nutrients supported digestion, making the intake of smaller portions feel more substantial and satisfying. The interplay between food quality and quantity created a synergy that contributed to steady energy levels throughout the day. Socially, This practice influenced dining rituals and interactions. Meals became moments of connection, not only with the food but also with those sharing the table. Conversations unfolded at a natural pace, breaks between bites allowed for reflection on the taste and texture, and the collective experience emphasized quality over quantity. This communal aspect reinforced the habit, embedding it more deeply in everyday life. Physiologically, the benefits were tangible. Reduced calorie consumption without hunger led to stable blood sugar, avoiding the common pitfalls of overeating such as lethargy or irritability. Digestive discomforts diminished, and metabolic processes operated with greater efficiency. Over time, this pattern fostered a more consistent energy flow, which in turn influenced other areas of health and activity. The transition to this way of eating wasn't instantaneous. It required a recalibration of habits and expectations, a shift in the relationship with food that challenged ingrained behaviors. Yet, the gradual nature of the adjustment allowed it to integrate seamlessly into daily routines without causing stress or resistance. The absence of rigid counting or tracking tools made it accessible and sustainable. This subtle recalibration also echoed beyond the dining table. The awareness cultivated in this practice spilled into other forms of self-care and time management, reinforcing a holistic approach to well-being. The process underscored the importance of listening to the body, to hunger cues, and to the environment, rather than imposing external demands or arbitrary goals. As the days unfolded, the cumulative effect of these changes became evident not through dramatic shifts but through steady, quiet improvement. The body adapted to a new rhythm, one that honored natural limits and avoided excess. The simplicity of stopping before full satiety emerged as a powerful yet understated tool within the broader landscape of health practices. Embedded within this approach was a subtle resistance to the fast-paced, consumption-driven culture prevalent elsewhere. Instead of rushing through meals or overindulging, there was an embrace of moderation and patience. This cultural perspective shaped not only what was eaten but how it was eaten, influencing both physical health and mental clarity. With these foundational habits in place, the narrative naturally moved toward considering other dimensions of lifestyle that intersected with eating patterns, inviting further exploration into how environmental and behavioral factors contributed to sustained well-being. The rhythm of daily life, as it turned out, had a weighty influence on more than just the meals themselves. The predictability embedded in eating at consistent times created a framework that subtly governed the body's internal balance. Blood sugar levels, for instance, thrived on such regularity, avoiding the sharp spikes and crashes that could otherwise trigger excessive fat storage. This wasn't about strict regimentation, but rather about sustaining a pattern that the body could anticipate, allowing hormonal signals to operate with greater precision. The absence of constant snacking played a significant role in this equilibrium. Grazing throughout the day, common in many modern routines, disrupted this harmony, leading to a continuous influx of calories that the body was ill-equipped to handle efficiently over long periods. In practical terms, the approach translated into structuring meals so that each served as a definitive pause, a moment when the body could shift focus from digestion back to other metabolic processes. This meant that breakfast, lunch, and dinner were spaced to prevent the lingering presence of insulin in the bloodstream, which, when elevated, encouraged the storage of fat instead of its utilization. Light daily movement complemented this schedule without demanding strenuous effort. Simple activities, such as a short walk after a meal or gentle stretching throughout the day, helped enhance circulation and improved how glucose was processed. These small gestures formed a subtle counterbalance to sedentary habits and further supported the body's metabolic efficiency. This pattern had deep roots in the way communities had lived for generations before the surge of industrialization and technology. In those times, the natural cycles of activity and rest, hunger and satiety, were more pronounced. The modern tendency to blur these boundaries, fueled by round-the-clock availability of food and distractions, ran counter to the physiological signals that had evolved to anticipate and respond to regular intervals of nourishment. The body's hormonal system, particularly insulin and glucagon, depended on these cues to regulate energy storage and release. Without them, the delicate balance tipped toward fat accumulation, regardless of the quality of food consumed. Moreover, the cultural dimension revealed itself in how these routines were maintained not just individually, but collectively. Family meals, community gatherings, and shared rituals reinforced the timing and structure of eating. This social synchronization amplified the benefits of consistency by embedding it within a network of mutual accountability and shared experience. The daily routine thus became more than a personal health strategy. It was a thread woven into the fabric of social life, ensuring that the body's needs aligned with cultural rhythms. At the same time, the avoidance of constant snacking resisted a pervasive modern impulse. The ease of access to snacks, often rich in sugars and artificial ingredients, created a cycle where hunger cues were dulled or ignored, replaced by habitual eating triggered by boredom, stress, or simply habit. By limiting intake to set meals, the body preserved its sensitivity to true hunger signals, allowing for a more accurate regulation of intake and expenditure. This restraint also prevented the metabolic confusion occasioned by continual food consumption, which otherwise led to inefficiencies and fat storage. The integration of gentle movement into this framework served as a bridge between the physiological and behavioral aspects of health maintenance. Unlike vigorous exercise routines, which might not be sustainable for everyone, these small yet consistent actions aligned with natural bodily rhythms. They improved insulin sensitivity and encouraged the use of fat as an energy source without imposing stress. The cumulative effect of such movement, combined with consistent meal timing and minimal snacking, created a resilient metabolic environment. Such a routine, while seemingly simple, required an understanding of the body's signals and a conscious effort to respect them. It unfolded not as a rigid regimen but as a flexible yet reliable pattern that adapted to individual circumstances while preserving its core principles. Over the years, this approach demonstrated its capacity to maintain slimness and metabolic health, not through drastic changes but through sustained, manageable habits. These habits, embedded in daily life and community practices, offered a blueprint for navigating the complexities of modern living without sacrificing foundational biological needs. As the narrative continued to unfold, it became clear that these routines intersected with other lifestyle factors, forming a complex web that influenced overall well-being. The next layer, subtle but impactful, involved the quality and nature of rest and recovery, elements just as vital as nutrition and movement in the maintenance of a balanced, healthy body. Beyond the deliberate choices around diet and activity, the rhythm of daily life in Japan often unfolds with a subtle respect for rest that defies hurried, modern sensibilities. Evening meals tend to be lighter and earlier, allowing the body ample time to digest before sleep. This timing, paired with a natural dimming of light as night approaches, encourages a gradual winding down, an unspoken signal for the body's internal clock. Unlike the rushed or irregular sleep patterns common elsewhere, this consistent routine supports not only the restoration of physical energy but also the regulation of metabolic processes that influence weight and aging. In many households, the concept of namuri, or sleep, is approached with an understanding that quality outweighs quantity. While the exact hours vary from person to person, there is an emphasis on creating a calm environment. Minimal noise, subdued lighting, and often a break from digital screens well before bedtime. This environment fosters deeper stages of sleep, crucial for hormone balance and cellular repair. It's worth noting that this practice is embedded in cultural habits rather than seen as a chore or obligation, making it sustainable over a lifetime. Alongside rest, movement throughout the day is naturally integrated rather than compartmentalized into intense workouts. Walking to the local market, taking stairs instead of elevators, and standing during short meetings create a baseline of physical activity that keeps the body engaged without the stress of formal exercise routines. This incidental movement, often overlooked in conventional fitness advice, contributes to maintaining muscle tone, circulation, and joint health. It's a form of low-impact exercise that melds seamlessly with everyday tasks, reducing the risk of injury and fostering longevity through consistency. The interplay between these factors, diet, rest, and gentle movement, forms a cohesive system rather than a checklist of isolated actions. This system is further supported by social structures that emphasize community and shared experiences, whether it's gathering for a meal or participating in group activities like traditional dance or gardening. These interactions provide mental stimulation and emotional support, elements increasingly recognized as vital in preserving cognitive function and emotional balance as one ages. Environment also plays an understated but significant role. Many Japanese cities and towns are designed to encourage walking and social interaction. Public spaces are abundant, clean, and safe, inviting residents to spend time outdoors in green areas or by the water. This access to nature, even in urban settings, has been linked to reduced stress levels and improved immune function. The seamless integration of natural elements into daily life creates a backdrop that supports physical and mental health simultaneously. In this context, longevity emerges not from drastic measures but from the subtle harmony of everyday choices. The consistency of small habits, fermented foods with probiotics, seaweed rich in minerals, green tea antioxidants, mindful eating portions, restful sleep, and regular low-impact movement, builds a foundation that sustains health over decades. This approach avoids extremes, instead relying on steady rhythms that the body can adapt to and flourish within. Understanding these nuances offers a broader perspective on wellness that transcends simple dietary or exercise advice. It highlights how lifestyle is a mosaic where each piece, no matter how small, contributes to the whole. The Japanese model exemplifies how cultural values, social norms, and environmental design converge to create conditions favorable to healthy aging. The patterns observed are not merely coincidental but are deeply embedded in daily routines and societal expectations. As this exploration continues, it becomes increasingly clear that uncovering the layers behind these practices reveals insights applicable beyond geographic boundaries. The ways in which subtle adjustments in routine and environment influence health can inform approaches in diverse contexts, adapting principles rather than replicating traditions. The next phase of this journey will delve into how emerging research continues to unravel the biological mechanisms influenced by these lifestyle habits, shedding light on the intricate relationship between daily living and the aging process itself. Thanks for staying with me through this exploration of how small, thoughtful changes can ripple through our health and well-being. It's been great unpacking these ideas together, seeing how even subtle shifts in our routines and surroundings carry more weight than we might expect. If you found this helpful and want to keep diving deeper into how lifestyle shapes our biology and aging, consider subscribing to the channel. There's plenty more insight coming your way that's designed to be practical and easy to weave into everyday life. I'd love to hear from you too. If you made it all the way here, drop a comment with "I'm with you till the end." It's a simple way for us to connect and for me to know who's really journeying through this content alongside me. And if something in particular stood out or sparked a question, don't hesitate to share that as well. This space is all about learning together. If you felt a bit more connected with the ideas we've discussed here, a quick thumbs up on the video helps me understand what resonates. And honestly, it's nice to know we've built a little bridge through these minutes. No pressure, just a natural way to acknowledge the time we spent exploring this topic. When you're ready, there's a video right here that picks up on some of the biological mechanisms behind these lifestyle effects, kind of a perfect next step if you want to see where the science is heading. Click on it and let's continue this conversation there. I'm looking forward to having you along for what's next.